Was going off that stretcher with a smile on his face on Saturday. It didn't look too bad, but this is a huge blow for Arsenal and England, isn't it?
Oh, massive blow. It really was. I mean, Theo just come back from injury himself. He just started to come back into the team and be a regular starter, scoring goals. But this is a really shock for a lot of people. Everybody thought, a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, over a period where a lot of the people do get injuries. Christmas period is always a very demanding period of games. But, after getting the news today, you just broke it to me as well. I'm thinking, wow, what a really big injury this is for Arsenal and England, because England, I'm sure Theo would have been a starter for England in Brazil. And it must be a massive blow for himself, because, he's playing in a very good team at the moment, top of the league, and looking forward to Brazil, and suddenly gets this big injury shock. Everybody must think about Theo at the moment, because he must be absolutely distraught about the extent of the injury.
Yeah, I would have thought there's going to be a lot of sympathy for him, especially when you consider what's happened with him, with England at major tournaments in the past. He was surprisingly selected for 2006, and then he wasn't selected in 2010, and that was a bit of a shock. And he was really looking forward to heading to Brazil. I mean, I'm not sure if you've had this specific injury yourself, a ruptured anterior cruciate ligament in the left knee, but I mean, how devastating a blow for him is this right now? And can you understand when he was going off the pitch, almost smiling, that he might not have felt it was as bad as it was?
Well, you never know. When you get a knee injury, you hopefully it will be a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, but you go for your scan, and you never know the extent of it. So, cruciate ligament, I played with players who had it. Robert Perez, when he was at Arsenal, I remember doing a Highbury when he went over, with no one around him, he just went over really awkwardly on his knee, out for 9 months. Alan Shearer's had it in the past, and some big players have had it. I mean, this is the extent of the injury now. I mean, I only had myself as cartilage injuries, and you're probably out for 6 to 12 weeks maximum. But this one is a real, and it's a really tough time for people as well, because you have to go for the period of coming back, and you're training on your own for probably 2-3 months before you get back into the squad, because after being out for six months, you talk about 6 months being out, but you've got to get the recovery as well. So, Theo must be absolutely distraught at the moment, and, all our wishes go out to him, because, at a time when he's playing well, he got his opportunity up front against Spurs at the FA Cup, looking forward to playing on a regular basis, which he's a very important player for Arsenal this season. And Arsene Wenger will be looking at it as well, saying, well, that's another striker, maybe, that, after losing Bentner, Giroud's injured, Walcott, who can play up front, he's injured now. I'm sure Arsene Wenger now says to the board or whoever's involved in the transfer policy, we definitely need at least one or maybe 2 strikers to come into the club.
Because he has been in good goal-scoring form, as you mentioned. 5 goals in his 6 games, having come back into the side after, 2 months out with a different injury. I suppose it's going to be difficult for Theo Walcott, almost knowing now that they do need to bring someone else in. Do you think that's essential now for Arsene Wenger, to bring in another attacking threat? Well,
definitely. I mean, I think it was anyway before Theo Walcott got his injury. I think Arsene Wenger was always looking in the market. It's a very awkward time, January, because who's available, who's the quality who can come in and put a little bit of pressure on maybe Giroud. I'm sure he'll be back next game. But, it's now vital that, I always think Theo's a better player on the right-hand side than centre-forward. People might differ on that and say, no, he could be a top striker, but I think he's better coming from the right midfield. When you're playing that sort of system, 3 behind the 1, I think he's better on the right-hand side. But now, Arsene Wenger must really be, very, very, very concerned about the situation, because at the end of the day, he's not got a lot of strikers to pick from. It's a very important period. They're top of the league, all going very well. But now, a couple of injuries at the weekend. I always said, I was at the game against Spurs at the FA Cup, and that was a big concern. A great performance from Arsenal, it really was. But losing Theo Walcott, losing Arteta as well. I don't know what the extent of his injuries, but Malin going off half-time. The squad now really gets tested, and you might have Oxlade-Chamberlain coming back and players like that, but it's a real test now to see what Arsene Wenger does, because he's only got three or 4 weeks to say, okay, we need 2 players, 3 players, 1 player, whatever it is, that he has to go out and do the business. And whoever's available, I'm sure teams will be looking at it now and saying, well, if you want my striker, it's another 5 million because you're desperate. So, that'd be interesting to see what happens now. But, all the Arsenal fans will be thinking about is Theo Walcott at the moment, because he'd be absolutely distraught, losing the rest of the season and obviously missing the World Cup, which is the best, tournament to ever play in.
Yeah, Ray, we really appreciate your time this evening. Thanks a lot.